Good morning, afternoon and evening, my crazies. My name's Angela. I'm the Crazy Poppy Lady and I would like to welcome you back to another Stitch a Week. Now, this one is week number 5 and this is, of course, a corner-to-corner standard square. So I decided after last week's C2C mini, it was only fair that we did the standard corner to corner square. This way it means that you have a 10 by 10 a square that you can do your maths on for your yarn amounts and sizes that your finished blankets will turn up in. And just for comparison, here are the size difference. It doesn't look like a lot, but over a decent sized project it works out beautifully. Okay, right, so let's grab our hook and grab our yarn and get going. Right, so let's get on with the corner to corner. Of course, you know we start with a slip knot. You pop that on your hook. Now we're going to chain up 5. Now this is the version that I prefer. You can also do the chain 6 method and the stitches will look very similar. The only difference being that there will be a slightly bigger gap between your squares. I'll explain this a little bit more as we go further into the project. So we chain 5 and then in the third chain from the hook you are going to place a double crochet. Oh. And a double crochet in the fourth chain from the hook and a further double crochet into the fifth chain from the hook. Or if you are doing the other method, it is the 4th, 5th and 6th chain from the hook. Alright, now we will chain up 5. Again, this is the start that you do on every single increase around. Now, working into the third chain from the hook, place a double crochet. The fourth chain from the hook, place a double crochet and another double crochet in the fifth chain from the hook. Now, just as we did in last week's C2C mini, you are going to take this first square and flip it up. Then place a slip stitch around the chain 2. Like that. Now chain 2 and place 3 more double crochet around the chain. There you go, so that is a row 1 and row 2 now complete. Now moving on to a row 3. of course, we do the chain 5. Into the 3rd chain from the hook is the double crochet. Fourth chain from the hook, another double crochet. And the 5th is another double crochet. Flip your work and place your slip stitch around your chain 2 from the last block. There we go. At this point, of course, I like to fold down my unworked boxes so it stops my hook catching on them. Right, now chain 2. Now place 3 double crochets around the chain. Slip stitch to the next block and chain 2, 3 double crochets. That is the end of row 3. So for row 4, again we are going to do our increase block, and we will carry on doing the increase block for the first block of each row for the next until you have a total of 10 rows. Okay, I will meet you back here when you have finished your 10 rows. If you need a reminding, just drop down into the drop down box below where I have put a chapter number in, so that you can just click that and that will help you to repeat rows 3 on repeat. All you've got to do is remember that your middle squares are all the same. Right, so here we are, we're back at the end of row 10. Now, if you lose track of how many rows you've done, just count your boxes either along the bottom, up the side or on the diagonal. They will all at this point be the same number. Okay, right, now it's time to get on with our decrease. Okay, now this is where we no longer chain up anything at the end of these rows. All we are going to do is turn our work, and into the top of each of these double crochets we are going to place a slip stitch. Keep your slip stitch loose, because if you don't it will make the size of your fabric bunch up. Okay, so we do 3 slip stitches and now chain 2, and then around our chain 2 from our previous box, of course, we do our 3 double crochets, and we can carry on our pattern all the way to the other end. But there is a cheeky trick that I'd like you to do, which is to pop in a stitch marker on this last block on that chain on your chain 2, because the only thing we are going to work into this is our slip stitch, no more stitches. Okay, so I will work along this row quickly now by fast forwarding it, so you might want to pause, and I will meet you back at the other end. Right, so you have just completed your 9th block. Okay, now what we will be doing is a slip stitching, of course, around that chain 2. Okay, and that is it. That is the end of this row. So now it's a case of turning our work around and slip stitching into the top of the 3 double crochets from that box that we have just made. Okay, now chain 2. Now the 3 slip stitches up the side plus the chain 2 is what we are now going to do for the start of every single row, and the slip stitching into the last block is the last thing that we will do each row. Now we repeat this going backwards and forwards, with each row you will lose 1 extra block. So this time round we are only doing 8 blocks. Okay, I'm going to meet you now at the end of this row. Right, so we are at the end of the row. So we slip stitch in to the block from the last round, rotate your work, and then do your 3 slip stitches, keeping them loose. And a chain 2, and then let's start the next row. Right, I'm going to leave you to keep going backwards and forwards and decreasing 1 stitch each time. I will meet you back when you get to your last block. Okay, if you need any extra assistance, remember that in the description box down below there will be a timestamp that will take you back to the beginning of the decrease section. Right, I will see you shortly. Okay, so now we are back to finish off this last square on the very last row. All you need to do, of course, is a slip stitch to the square below, and turn your work, and then place 3 slip stitches up the side of the square. Then chain 2, cut off your yarn, leaving enough for you to be able to sew in the ends nice and neatly. Pull up your hook, scooch down your knot, and there you go, you're all done, and that is your corner to corner sample square complete. Right, so that is it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this stitch. Also, if you check out the I button at the top there is also a C2C tips and tricks video that I will pop into this one, so that it explains colour changing and other bits and pieces that you might want to know for a later project. And I hope to see you again next week for the next instalment of A Stitch a Week. Right, have fun making this one, and I will see you really soon. If you can, please stay in and definitely stay safe. And ta-ra for now, everybody.